Hello everyone, it is Joe here from Omnipoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. If you're looking for PTCGO codes, including the stuff from Pokemon Go, check out the Potown store. You can get a 5% discount on your order using that code Omnipoke. For today's video, we're going to be looking at Solrock Lunatone, one of the most prevalent decks on the ladder right now because it's a pretty easy budget and fun deck to play coming out the Pokemon Go set, just revolving around some uncommon cards. The Lunatone and Solrock combined really nicely together to just accelerate to a big moon kinesis with this Lunatone that is constantly representing at least 2 hit KO pressure, and at some points in games or on specific turns, you can ramp pretty high with your Lunatone, so Mad Kinesis can KO V-Stars and even V-Maxes in certain situations. So certainly one of the more viable one-prize decks in format right now. I think up there with like Mad Party, one we've already profiled, certainly. So definitely up there, and is a really interesting deck to get your head around because you have this sort of infinite cycle of energies with the Solrock, so your Lunatones are basically always online once you've navigated those opening stages, so you're essentially never whiffing an attack, which is such a awesome feeling for a one-prize deck. Has a great internal consistency in that regard. It's just how hard you can push the Moon Kinesis throughout the game is the biggest question mark, and I've seen a lot of variation with lists. I did want to go over what I'm playing right now. I do really enjoy the deck, and my testing group actually has a lot of testing with it already because it seems to be a valid archetype in the format. Especially good if you just want to have some fun or have a budget deck sleeved up as your backup whenever you need to. So yeah, it's based all around this Lunatone, a 90 hit point psychic type with 2 attacks. The first is Cycle Draw. For a psychic, you can discard a card in hand and draw 3. Not a bad option if you're choosing not to deal damage that turn and maybe like ramping up energy onto multiple Lunatones in one go can be a reasonable strategy at times. But the Moon Kinesis is the attack that we mostly look for here. For 3 colorless, you do 30 plus 30 more for each psychic energy attached to this Pokemon. Very, very solid. That 30 base means that we're doing, for the requisite cost, 120 damage, and we play, of course, Choice Belts and lots of ways to get even more Solrock action going, as well as turn attachments. So this deck slowly does snowball into higher damage thresholds, which is really good, because when you think about weaving in Choice Belt and weaving in turn attachments and whatnot, in addition to your Sun energies from Solrock, you're quite easily 2-hit KOing V-Stars, which means you're at least like sort of keeping pace with these sorts of decks. And bear in mind, there are times where you could be the player going first. If you get 3 energy onto a Lunatone straight away, that turn 2, you can already be representing a KO on unevolved V Pokemon. So very, very dangerous card with some great tempo at its disposal, especially when going first, because you just get extra Sun energies, and that's the ability of the Solrock, allowing you to attach a psychic energy from your discard pile to one of your Lunatone, and this is of course stackable, so we try and go wide with Solrocks. Ideally, if you don't need any of your tech basic Pokemon and only have Radiant Greninja, you can have the full 4 Solrocks in force, just all funneling into one Lunatone if you really need it to be, but oftentimes you'll see 3 on the board and a secondary Lunatone on the bench. Really depends on your hand at different points, but yeah, very strong combo and inter-synergy between these cards. Radiant Greninja is very helpful for this deck, not only helping us get a few cards along the way and making our early game much more fluid, it's also helping get the Psychics in the bin, which is obviously great synergy alongside Sun energy. So we get a free additional 2 cards with upside, because purple is exactly where we want it. We want it in the bin so we can recharge it for free onto Lunatone. We play a couple of tech Pokemon as well. We play the Manaphy to protect our bench, especially from opponents' Radiant Greninjas. If it's a Palkia player, it's a great way they can get an easy up trade, a 2-for-1 on you. So just denying that is okay. There are points in games, especially once they've used their V-Star power, where you won't need the Manaphy and you can even scoop up net it and then just place down a Solrock and whatnot. But better safe than sorry to have this Manaphy in there for certain. And we also play 1 copy of Morpeko for that Torment attack, that first attack here. For 1 colorless, you do 20. You choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks, and during their next turn, they can't use that attack. This is, of course, to try and shut down a flying Pikachu, just using Max Balloon over and over again to stop us. So we don't immediately lose to like a lone peak. It's still very difficult, and it may force the opponent to power up a secondary Pikachu, but it does give you time. And that's kind of the most important thing, because it's not like the opponent just bosses around the Morpeko and starts attacking your stuff. They have to find like retreat switch outs if they want to attack with their Pikachu. An Archetype normally plays just 1 copy of Switch, sometimes 1 Switch, 1 Rope at the highest end, I would say. So Torment is very good at slowing them down, but it's not just for Flying Peak, it's also very helpful against the likes of Duraludon and Blissey. Both have one attack that they use, and both have a lot of healing. And the big reason why the Morpeko is helpful here is we get that little poke in whilst charging up a Lunatone on the bench, which is much more effective than sending a Lunatone in turn by turn, because your opponent's just going to heal that off. You'd much rather just get that Torment, spend the turn powering up a Luna on the bench, so then maybe you can go over the top of them over a couple turns. So this Morpeko very good for the Flying Peak, but also good against healing matchups, and it could be very helpful in those. So yeah, I think it's a reasonable one-off just because I'm scared of Flying Peak in the first place. I am playing Rope Boss additionally in the deck, but I feel like the Morpeko is important to help us ramp high enough with the Lunatone. Anyway, onto the item cards. We play a lot of speed cards. We play VIP passes because it's so important to get the Greninja in the mix as quickly as possible. We play a couple Fogs, which gets us Energy and Lunatone. Gets Level Ball for the Lunatone, the Solrock, and our other Techmons are set for Radiant Greninja. Quick Balls are still helpful because they can discard extra Psychic Energy in the opening stages, which is really nice, or discard VIP passes in the mid-game. We have a Hisuian Heavy to try and get some of our 1-ofs or our 4-ofs out of those prize cards. And we have a couple carriers to reload everything but the Greninja. Scoop Up Net is a real all-star in the deck. Honestly, be careful about how you use this card because it's a very vital resource. It's essentially a power tablet in the late game for this deck because it allows you to reuse your Sun Energy on Solrock. But additionally, it's a very good early game card to use with Greninja early on. So try and manage your Scoop Up Nets. They are, you know, like I said, power tablets or choice belts, however you want to look at them as. They're extra dips on Solrock to really help you push. So don't just spend these willy-nilly. You need to be careful on how you use them. They're obviously very good early game, and I think the rule is if you're using concealed cards and already have Solrock in play, or multiple Solrock in play, it's a no-brainer to just take the cards because you can guarantee the Sun Energy attachments. But in situations where you would have to find more pieces, sometimes it's just worth holding on to that Scoop Up Net for later stages when it turns into guaranteed damage. So just a small thing to bear in mind there. Trekking Shoes obviously helps us get deeper into the deck with extra discard synergy, which is no bad thing. Another way that we can sometimes choose ways to get rid of excess VIPs. PokéStop is the new stadium as well from Pokemon Go that kind of stitches this engine together quite nicely. We have so many ball search cards that we can pull Pokemon out the deck to the point where we have a very good ratio of energy and trainer cards. Energy love hitting the discard pile, trainer cards love coming into our hand, so the PokéStop very good in that regard. We have no way to recover supporters though, so use it on the careful side because things can go wrong if you lose too many bosses or Marnies or whatnot, and I'm currently not playing Palpad, so something to bear in mind there. The Escape Rope is not only helpful for Flying Peak situations where you can rope boss them, but also it's just good in general, especially if you've like gone second against some V-Stars where you're not ready to deal with a Palkia or an Arceus by turn 2, and especially Arceus that has Sharon's Care. You'd much rather be roping and just taking one prize knockouts and Sobbles and Drizzles and that sort of thing so that you're initiating that race and starting to get into that snowball because you're only committing 3 energy to one Lunatone and starting to power up some on the bench as well. So these ropes, similar to how I like them in Rapid Mally as a 1/2 count, is just that you're not prepared for that sort of amount of hit points by turn 2. You're just not there yet, so you'd rather just rope push, make sure you're taking at least a prize, and you're still in the race in that regard. So very helpful. Stops the Arc players from flying ahead against you, although it's still an awkward matchup. A high boss count, as well as the ropes, I think is pretty reasonable here. You could go all the way up to 4 copies, because they're so vital in those opening stages. And, you know, if ever you PokéStop one too many, things get awkward. So just play around this a little bit. I could also see a Palpad coming in, because then you're more Roxanne-proof at the same time. So just a few things to remember there. And I'm playing Marnie instead of Research. Now, I've said very often throughout this deck review that we love discarding energy. So why are we not playing Research for like a deeper dig into the deck? Well, typically, I think Marnie's a lot safer here because it means we don't get stuff trapped in our hand. It means we don't get bosses trapped. We don't get nets trapped. We don't get Rescue Carrier trapped. Otherwise, you know, sometimes you can be blocked out of your own research just because you want to hold one of these pieces. Whereas the Marnie sort of protects them for you, which I think is a kind of big deal. And at the same merits, this deck snowballs very, very hard. And if ever we put our opponent on a slower hand, where they can't do everything they want to, especially against Inteleon engines, you completely steal the tempo away from the opponent just from one Marnie, allowing you to build up a Lunatone even higher. So really, really big card. I think I prefer this to Research. Obviously has less of a deep dig for cards like VIP Pass, and there's some debate there of whether they they should just be, you know, more quick or level balls or whatnot, which you can have internally with more testing. At the moment, I'm just kind of throwing a lot up in the air and trying to have a decent balance here, but I'm sure people can mature their ball search counts in a way that you prefer. But I'm pretty sure that Marnie's a stronger card than Research in a deck like this, because at any point, if your opponent just stumbles, you're going to pole vault in tempo and destroy anyone, basically. 3 belts to help push our mediocre damage, and 12 psychic should be enough with those fog crystals to have really good access. Now, there are some other things that I've been testing out in the deck, of course. Research is one to think about. Raihan is also a really interesting one. There was a point where I played no boss and just played cross switcher, and then Raihan was a very solid include in those instances, because alongside the PokéStop and Raihan and whatnot, you have pretty good odds of getting those cross switchers into hand all in one go, and then you can make some gusting plays in item form, so you don't have to worry about the PokéStop discarding them. You know, you're pretty much in control of how many gusts you have. It's just not a naturally high amount. So maybe a combination of cross switchers or just Pokemon catchers could easily come into this list. Those are things that I'm sort of playing around with. What else is there, really? We have a mixture of basically all the ball search that you would want to play. There's an argument towards Rod, because it can get back Radiant Greninja. At the moment, I'm playing Ropes rather than Tornadus as well. That's another one I've had rather than the Morpeko. Just a searchable Tornadus would be good. I think you'd have to go up to 4th Quick Ball if you wanted that, and you would have to play the Rod as well. So a few things to debate there, but I'm pretty happy with where the list is at right now. I've had a few different iterations of LunaRock, and they've all felt like fairly close. So ironing out that 60 is not necessarily intuitive, because there's a lot of things that are good for different reasons, like in different moments. So yeah, it's a pretty strong deck, and it's fairly consistent, but I don't know if this is the final 60 of the list. I think still more testing needs to be done with it, but I'm pretty happy with where we're at right now. As it happens, we are going to go second with a pretty strong hand. The only thing we're lacking really is energy right now. We're going to lead out with Lunatone. And yeah, it's really going to be down to a PokéStop to see if we can do much this turn, or a decent top deck. But we're not nervous just yet. If the top 4 cards have a Psychic in it, we can at least Cycle Draw if all else goes to pot. It looks like we are up against an Arcdura, and like I said, Morpeko is actually a pretty good tech card in this instance. It's not something that comes down early. It's normally in those sort of mid to late game situations where they're just like leaning on one big guy and just trying to like churn through us. We try and represent the Morpeko against them and give them something to think about whilst we power up a big Luna. The opponent gets a pretty reasonable turn 1 going, and we actually straight away hit Psychic Energy, which is phenomenal. We're of course going to thin our deck of Pokemon straight away, because that is a big deal before using that PokéStop. So we'll straight away grab another Solrock and a Radiant Greninja. I think because I've priced a Lunatone, I probably do want to go for... Sorry, I priced 2 Lunatone. I probably want to level ball 1 out now, just so I have that peace of mind that it's here. And because I'll only really be discarding 1 Psychic more than likely. You want a Greninja before the PokéStop in most situations, because you can get more cards that can thin even harder. Like right now, we've thinned an extra card thanks to VIP Pass. So we'll go full bench here just with the Solrock coming in. And then we have the option to Greninja again if I want to, or we can see what the PokéStop brings. So able to get another Psychic. So that means I'm probably going to concealed cards more than once here, because there's 1 in the bin so far. If I net Greninja, it'll be a second one, and it means I could even hit this Duraludon if I really wanted to. We'll sort of have a look here. I could also hit the Arceus because I have Rope early, and that seems like very good pressure, honestly. So let's get hitting on the Arceus. Seems pretty reasonable to me. Let's play this Rope. So it's kind of like a maximum tempo play here, but I think that's kind of what we have to do against them. We've already got the 150 on. The Solrock is guaranteeing 120 on Lunatone next turn. Ideally, the PokéStop sticks, and we can have a push towards an extra attachment or whatever. Or a belt, either would do. So we'll see. Looks like the opponent was relying on our PokéStop here. They have been able to gear into a research. Getting rid of a Hyper Potion, definitely good news for us. 1 V-Star already in the discard pile. Let's see if they can get towards a V-Star here. Big Charm, okay. I feel like they can't afford to just hit us. They probably should be Trinity charging if they've whiffed V-Star. Oh, they do take the knockout. Which means I have guaranteed response KO here, just on board. And that's kind of the joy of this deck, right? You know you always have stuff to do. Because I've already got guaranteed knock, let's do this. We want to work towards Rescue Carrier because we have prized some of our stuff. I will take this. It's too important to lose out on damage here. And we'll play this. More Psychics hit the bin, which is no bad thing. But because they went greedy with the Arceus now, we're going to have 2 turns for free of powering up a Lunatone. Because there's no way that he can attack us next turn with anything meaningful. So we should be pretty good here. Especially with good odds of getting a Luna off prizes. So we just hit a Solrock though. Rock Boss, okay. But we have 3 Psychic already in the bin. I've seen Avery. We have 3 6 energy gone. Let me just pitch a rock here. Okay, looks like I'm going to try and build another Arceus here. And I have already boss KO on it. With Rock Belt boss. He does get the DT switch though, so he can at least Trinity charge and power up a dude. So that's something, but we are getting another KO here. And that's when Morpeko is going to get really good. We're basically, like, he's left with just this idiot, and then we're just going to Morpeko him. Right, so let's continue to PokéStop, I think. So there's the KO. I'm also going to drop down the Morpeko now, I think. Because he's not able to, like, he's not allowed to boss this Morpeko anyway, right? Because this Lunatone gets too big. So let's just Moon Kinesis. Alright. It's a shame that the Morpeko is currently not live, because I don't have access to energy, but he's not to know this anyway. Okay, that's a pretty awkward Avery as well. We'll discard these 2. But we have such a big prize buffer, we can afford to just cycle draw next turn if all goes wrong. Carrier's not bad. It does let me get more rocks involved. I just go 1 and 1 here. So it is going to be a cycle draw turn, because I need to work towards a turn attachment to Morpeko. And I'm going to split the energies on the Lunatones, I think. I think that makes the most sense. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's pretty strong if I'm able to cycle draw into a Marnie, so I don't know how much I like using the PokéStop here. I do have a lot of shoes left though. Let's see if we can hit shoes, I guess. Alright, so we did lose out on a on another psychic, but we'll just go for the cycle draw here. See what comes of it. Okay, working towards a couple shoes. The Torment is going to be very strong against them for sure. Because they're literally not allowed to bench anything against us right now. It's Evo Incense. Quick Ball gets rid of Duraludon. Okay, they are playing a Marnie. It's not the worst thing for us because we don't have Psychic in hand. There we go. The elusive purple energy. Alright, so Torment is going to be insane here. Build a big Luna. Can I thin? Can't thin anything really. Play this Marnie, seems reasonable. Quick Ball seems good here. I'm holding boss, so I'm allowed to play a PokéStop this turn as well. Okay, so we have a turn attachment next turn. I was really hoping to hit our next carrier, to be honest with you, but it's all okay. Let's just Torment. So we see them once again try and use our PokéStop. See an Arceus. See the cave. And it's at that moment they realize that Torment is bust. Yep. Yeah, let's just poke. We'll be at 360 next turn with the payment of retreat and the 2 energy in the bin. So it's the Morpeko CRE. You'd love to see it. I wonder if I can get Jack to do a That's No Moon type thumbnail where we turn Lunatone into the Death Star and have a laser beam shooting out of his eye. I wonder. That's no moon. There it is. That's a big one. A nice win there. And that's exactly what I said earlier on as well. I'm glad we got to see how it's good against Dura and Bliss in action. We otherwise could easily have been crumbed against Hyperpots, right? Because if I had just been churning the Lunas, I wouldn't have grown big enough. The little Morpeko does the trick. What a cheeky chappy he is. Let's get another game in. Nice win against Arcdura. And I do think the tech card is a swing card in the matchup for sure. That was a one draw supporter game as well. We played one Marnie that game. And we got Marnied once. That's the only like hand cycle we had. Alright, going second again. This deck is far stronger going first, by the way, because you get free sun energies, and it really puts you, like, a lot of damage ahead, I'll be honest, but we'll deal with it. Looks like it's another Arceus. Arc Intel this time. Okay. So certainly against Arc Intel, finding ropes are so insanely strong. I guess I take this. Argument to discard it just because of thingy. Carrier, but so I guess I go Sun Energy net straight away here. And just attach Belt. Because it's very good to get hit in on Arceus before it's turned into a V-Star so they can't Sharon's Care. Alright, we're going to need the help of PokéStop here. We'll take a Psychic Energy out because I've got the Carrier regardless. And we do not hit the goods, unfortunately. So it's going to be a cycle draw. Pretty unfortunate. But it is what it is. That next 3 would have been a far stronger 3 to have hit off the PokéStop. Well, that is the luck of the draw. Once again, our opponent happy to use the PokéStop in our face. Maybe that's an indication they don't have Ultra Ball in hand? Or Incense in hand? We'd have to dodge a lot of outs, but it's possible. Get rid of a Sharon's Care. Okay, all I'm seeing so far is non-draw cards. Another Quick Ball. Teleon's also not a good card. Is this all a pre-research play? No, it's a Trinity Charge. So we've been bailed out here. Gotta be honest about that one. Hit net. Okay. So we're gonna slam the stop here. We are able to discard 1 Psychic straight away, which is good. Great shoes. That's a really good shoe for us. So we're going 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 to 10 to 20 with the Carrier or the net. So because I've prized a Solrock, I might want to use the net instead, but nets are so busted. Yeah, let's just play the Carrier for 1. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 to 10 to 40. Can play this to play around Marnie. He's never dealing with it. Okay. So we know he has a response KO, but it can't feel good unless it's a V-Star. He has decent PokéStop potential, though, to get into a Ball Search card. Level Ball, Quick Ball, or not Quick Ball. Oh, that's a terrible PokéStop for him. Yeah, and just conceded. The PokéStop betrayed him. Arkintel Brick. So I guess we'll have one more game. Arkintel is actually pretty good at feasting against us just because they can do the Sharon's Care thing. It would have been a good situation to show off the ropes in action if I could have got early rope tempo and taking out smaller stuff. That's like some of your best opportunity against the Arc, but the opponent just had the slower start. It's pretty bad variance for them. Let's get a game in then. See how it goes. Caterpie. Hello. Okay, getting to go first with the deck is exactly what you want to see. I feel like we are a much stronger going first deck. Leading Morpeko is not the vibe we're looking for. We see a Pump Kaboo from the opponent. Right. I'm going to play pretty safe here because I have a Marnie. I think I'm just going Solrock Lunatone here. No exciting Greninja plays and hoping for the best. I think because there's a little one-prizer in front of me more than likely, I'm just going to play it pretty safe and just Bing chill like this. I'll take the free 60 damage and just crack on with my day. Sometimes you can pop off harder, and when you play VIPs, there's obviously that temptation to try and Greninja dig. So we're up against a Flying Peak. Arc Flying Peak by the looks of things. So the Morpeko is a good tech card, like I said. Very helpful card. Let's see how the opponent reacts to a rope. It depends how important the Bidoof is to them, really. How bad / good their hand is. Yeah, so they're going to let us 2-hit the Arceus by the looks of things. We do hit these things. Okay, we're going to shoo first. Do I want this? Yes. We're going to make a Crazy Frog. PokéStop is one of the issues of VIP passes, but like I said, it is what it is. Alright, getting the initial hit on Arceus is no bad thing here. Also, it's really good that our opponent has floating basics in play already. Their ideal play is to power up a Pika, of course, here. We've only got one Solrock down. That's pretty grim right now. They fire off a quick PokéStop. They thin some stadiums. Looks like PokéStop staying. See the barrel pre-Starbirth. Nothing doing, so they're going to try and get the peak rolling. I'm going to see the Nova. Alright. I would really, really like to get some Bull Search before I Marnie these back in, but I've only got one Quick Ball remaining. I might just get a quick Greninja use in, though. What do we think? No, I think I'd take the Guaranteed Attachment, honestly. Let me play the Marnie. Okay, now we have License to Greninja. We have one in there, right? Ooh, that is rough. That really is rough how few Lunatone, sorry, a few Solrocks we hit there. We hit no outs to Solrock. So I have to play Rope here. It's not ideal, I'll be honest. But we can get at least one extra energy on now. We'll take the prize. We're leveling up the trade whilst we have a big hit on an arc. It's very possible that they can Sharon's Care, of course, but it plays into the hands of the Morpeko if he does pick up this guy. So the double peak is the thing that's the most scary, right? Because then Torment is far less useful. Because they can max balloon, and then retreat and just max balloon again. So that is the scariest outcome for us. The fact that he's able to power up a second peak here. They are Sharon's Caring, which is really actually quite good for us. They did have the DTE though, so they can still go max balloon into max balloon next turn. It's just hard for them to have it all with boss. Have they played their switch yet? They haven't, no. Okay. And I can Marnie as well. Oh man, we hit boss off the top as well. I think it's just Torment Marnie here. Try and grow a Lunatone into boss range. That's a really good Marnie for us. So we know that our other boss is at the bottom of the deck, so now's the best time to use the PokéStop pre anything else. I guess I'm allowed to use the shoes because it doesn't really change the deck. But I'm not allowed to play any of these cards because it does reset the deck. So let's just play this first. We get a full house, which is insane. Let's burn this. Certainly want that card. Certainly want that card. Alright, let's get our first Torment in. So our opponent needs to find Lightning Energy, of which they have one remaining. And V-Star. Looks like they've hit V-Star. V-Max, sorry. So it's whether or not they can find that last Lightning Energy in their deck. They're benching an awful lot of stuff as well. Just trying to draw as much as possible from Bibarel here. I see a Marnie, so they're digging deeper towards their Lightning Energy here to do anything this turn. And it means they're not bossing Lunatone, obviously. So if they can't balloon, they have to retreat here. They're going to put back Boss Roxanne, definitely makes sense. Yeah, so they just feed us the freebie. Okay. How many Lunatones do I have? Okay. Right. Really need to try and Greninja into a boss here. It would be absolutely humongous if we could do that. I'm going to start using our Sun Energies. Seven. 83. Okay, let's PokéStop first, I think. No, because I want to draw into Psychic Energies, don't I? For more Greninja plays. No, let's just play the PokéStop. Okay, net's not a bad thing. Let's see if we can hit a boss here. Two pretty unhelpful cards. So we know they Pal-Padded boss back in. Am I meant to cash in this turn on damage? Very hard to try and dodge another boss. Although they wouldn't have played it if it was in their hand last turn, because they couldn't have. Taking another turn. Or just cashing in on damage, expecting our opponent to have an answer here. I think we just have to take the gamble that they can't boss us again here. They have a 5-card hand. They have a good amount of Ultra Balls, and it would be a big barrel draw to try and get there, though. It's the gamble we have to take at this point. We're pretty committed. We've lost both of our ropes, so I have to be bossing like a couple times here. Yeah, so they're thinning towards boss. They have 2 in the deck. Looking like they have 3 draws to try and get there. Oh no, they have a full 5 draws. Uh-oh. Yeah, they slammed the boss. Okay. Very bad news for us, to be honest. Still haven't seen that other Lightning Energy, though. Which is the only hope that Lightning Energy is in these 3 prize cards. That's the dream. That's the dream world that I'm living in right now. I'm not allowed to play this PokéStop because I've got 2 bosses in there, so we're just going to charge and Torment. They also still have a Switch remaining in deck at least. Yeah, there's the Switch. Do they have boss as well? No. Okay. What are our odds of hitting boss off the top here? I'm thinking I probably need to boss this turn. I'm just thinking best case scenario because we're so far behind. I need to boss this turn and just power up Lunatone on the bench. So yeah, we basically need to top deck runner boss, which isn't going to be easy. Certainly didn't do that, which is a real shame. We basically lost the 50-50 when they had a 19-card deck and we're drawing towards 2 boss. What we assume is 2 boss. And just whiffed, so... The peak is still obviously very difficult for us to deal with, but it gives us a chance, right? And also we spent our ropes kind of aggressively. We missed the damage on the Arc as well. Like, I'd be 2 prizes up on the Arceus if we had just not whiffed. So, yeah, I feel like a couple things kind of didn't go our way, in all truth. But you can see how the Morpeko gives you lines, right? We were just tantalizingly close to winning that matchup. I do still think it's unfavored, even with the tech cards that we're playing. But I think it's very possible that we win, for sure. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about LunaRock. Obviously, the biggest fear is Flying Peak, so we got to see it in action, how things can go awry. But we saw a good amount of Morpeko action as well, which is kind of cool. It was doing its bit, doing its part here and there. But it wasn't quite enough in that final game. I think I need to look back at when I Marnied, if that was actually correct. So I was holding bosses. Yeah, definitely things to think about. Yeah, solid deck. Let me know what you guys think about the ball search going on. Do you like the VIPs? Do you hate them? Do you like just pure quick and level action? Let me hear your thoughts down below. What do you think about Marnies over researches or other supporter cards that could potentially come in here as well? But that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video tomorrow. Cheers.